Call 866-994-4646.
Airing on over 200 affiliates across America, this is Tim Connally's Winning Strategies. Call now with your questions at 1-800-336-2225 or email talk@winningstrategies.net. Now, here's Tim Connally.
And we're live with Wes Christian and former FBI Special Agent in Charge, Houston office, Don Clark, talking about naked shorting and how this takes money out of your pocket as an investor. Now, Wes, why don't you take us through a case? Take us through one of your more notorious, got lots of information, and bad guys, even people in jail already. If it's a continuation of Eagle Tech, that would be great, because we really had just started on that.
Sure. Essentially, if you look at the origin of it, what the mob does is figure out a way to get a stronghold on your company. Typically, that's associated with a financing document. So they purport to invest in your company with some type of debenture. They then persuade you as a part of that financing to put certain people on your board, which are really mobsters. They then now are inside your company. They now have people inside your company controlling what they want to accomplish. They then pump up the stock for the liquidity, or even sometimes don't pump it up if the company's strong enough, and then ultimately take it down through naked shorting. The money's typically shuffled offshore. And Don, can you kind of describe, how that worked that kind of blew your mind as well?
Well, you're right. We're looking for money in the U.S. It's not here. It's gone someplace. But the thing about one of the investigations that I think that really was the basis for what we have gotten to today was the case involving Eagle Tech company, which was doing a lot of business offshore.
Hey, Don, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second because I forgot we have a caller on hold that has a question about the German connection and what the ban on naked short selling there is all about. So, caller, what's your question?
My question is, what is the connection to Sergei Lenikov when the FBI arrested him on July 3rd, where he was sending over 1,000 secret codes and files to a German website, and the news media did not cover the story, but now, May 18th, Germany banned naked short selling. Did the government in Germany reveal the secret codes of Goldman Sachs? And that's why the ban took place, and now the other European countries are going to probably do the same thing, as Wes stated earlier in the show.
Well, I'll let you guys have an educated guess on all this. You know more about it than me.
First, we can't tell you what the association is between that. If I were to speculate, which I'm not prone to speculate, I would say it does have a connection. But I have no legal or factual basis to tell you that. I can tell you that Germany has already experienced over the last 10 years a big awareness of this naked shorting impact. But like most countries, until it started to impact them personally and as a country, they didn't really do anything about it. But the word on the street is it has been impacting an enormous amount of companies over there. As you may or may not be aware, one of the components that the bad guys use, including organized crime, is they go and park a lot of these failed deliveries and other transactions in these naked shorting or other schemes where they're stealing money on the German exchange, typically the Frankfurt exchange. So companies, as you would imagine, are having their company listed without their permission, which incidentally it doesn't take their permission, on the Frankfurt exchange. And they're wondering, why in the hell are we on the Frankfurt exchange? And the answer is because you're fixing to get robbed. And so I think Germany has finally woken up and said, look, we've got to stop this in order to preserve the integrity of the companies that are being principally traded on the several German exchanges.
Well, and what about the Russian connection? You have a Russian bank connection that you talked about earlier.
The Russians are in this in a huge way. The best example I can give you of that is the whole debacle with Refco. Refco, as you recall, out of Chicago, was one of the largest option companies, public company, was a very successful IPO. I think had over $1 billion market cap, as I recall, back at that time. Well, at the end of the day, Bob Bennett pled out, and in that that document and in the filings that Refco, if you went to their bankruptcy filings, what you would see is that Refco was associated with a bank in Austria called Bauwag Bank. Bauwag Bank, according to all the newspaper articles I read, was associated with the Russian mob and the labor unions in Austria. And basically, that whole bank was associated with Bennett and ultimately was a part of this whole scheme that resulted in about $900 million of failed deliveries if you look at the bank schedules, the bankruptcy schedules of Refco.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and I interrupted Don for our caller. And caller, thank you for calling in and asking your question. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to go back to Don Clark and hear the story of how these investigations occurred and just what were they finding out and how deep does this go. And we'll be back after these messages on winning strategies. So listen up to the sponsors. Buy something. The economy needs the help.